Hello students. So in this video, let's learn how to find median using the graphical method, also known as the ogive curves. Okay. These ogive curves are also known as cumulative frequency curves. Okay. CF curves, cumulative frequency curves. Okay. Both are one and the same. Basically, there are two types of ogive curves. One is known as less than type. Okay. Where the less than type is a graph which is CF versus upper limits. Okay, it is a graph CF versus upper limit. Okay, whereas the more than type, in more than type ogive curve, again it is a CF versus lower limit. Okay, you have to remember this. There are two types. One is less than, the other one is more than. So if it is less than, you will plot a graph of CF versus upper limit. If it is more than, it is a graph of CF versus lower limit. Okay, let's take the first question. If you observe the first question, okay, in the first question, as you can see, the following distribution gives the daily income of 50 workers of a factory. Convert the distribution above to less than type cumulative frequency distribution. First, we have to convert this table into less than type, and then we have to draw the ogive. Okay, it's not necessary that we should always convert to less than type, then plot the graph. Okay, but in this question, it is given that we have to convert it. Okay, so let's convert it. It's very simple. Daily income, okay, is the first column. The second column, it will be number of workers, okay, which is F, okay, which is F in this case, then CF. Okay, now daily income is 100 to 120, isn't it? That is given in the question. 100 to 120, 120 to 140, all those stuff. Now you're going to consider only the upper limits. Okay, in the less than type, you're going to consider only the upper limits. So with the word less than 120. Okay, less than, the next upper limit is what? 140. Less than 160. Okay, less than 180, less than 200. Actually, we need not write this F actually. Okay, you can skip it, but to not get confused, I'm writing it. Okay, so you can directly write CF whenever you convert into less than type. Directly you can write CF, but we don't want to get confused, so let's include another column. Okay, doesn't matter. So usually whenever you convert into less than type and more than type, the F value, frequency, if you remember, even in median, when we were finding a problem in median, the answer, it was given below and only the CF. F was not given, right? So same thing, this F is not required, but let's write it so that we won't do any mistake. 12, 14, 8, 6, 12, 14, 8, 6 and 10. Now let's find CF. 12, 14 plus 12 is 26, 26 plus 8 is 34, plus 6 is 40, 40 plus 10 is 50. Okay, this middle column is actually not required, but we have written it just for our purpose. Okay, now what we have to do is we have to plot a graph. We have converted into less than type. Now we have to plot a graph of CF versus the upper limit. Okay, now if you observe the upper limits, what is the difference between each? It is 20, right? So in the scale, okay, let me show a rough diagram. Okay, let me take a very rough diagram. Okay, let's take something like this, x-axis and y-axis. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's take the x-axis and the y-axis. So this will be our y and this will be our x. Okay, now we have to take the scale for x-axis and y-axis, right? Remember, in x-axis it is upper limit. Okay, and remember, in the y-axis it is CF, cumulative frequency, and this is the origin. Now In the x-axis, we are going to take upper limits. Now, if you observe the difference between each, it is 20, 20. So let's take one box as 20 units. Okay. Scale x-axis. Let me write it here. Scale x-axis, one box, that will be equal to 20 units. Okay. One box is equal to 20 units. Now, similarly, we have to take it for y-axis. Now, for y-axis, always take one box as 10 units. Okay, that will be the very easiest thing. Okay, always take the y-axis one box as 10 units, and x-axis it will be 20 units. So this will become 0. The next box will become 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. Okay, so here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, how much ever you take it. Now see, after 0 we have to start with 20, isn't it? Because we have taken one box as 20. After 0 you get 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, then 120, isn't it? So instead of that, directly you can take 120 here. That is between 0 to 120, whatever values are there, we are skipping it. Since we are skipping it, we have to draw a kink here. I hope you remember this. You would have learned it in your 9th standard that you have to draw a kink, indicating that you have skipped certain values. Okay, so 120, 140, 160, 180, 200, 220, 240. Okay, now plot it. Okay, so the first value, what is the first upper limit? It is 120, isn't it? We have got 120, and what is the corresponding CF? It is 12. Okay, 120 and 12. Remember, in the graph sheet, you will have 10 lines, isn't it? In a box, you'll have 10 lines. So if this is 10, the first line will become 11, then 12, then 13, then 14, then 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so it's very easy. That is why we must take the y-axis as 10 units. So 120 and 12, it will be somewhere here. Then 140, what is the next upper limit? 140, and the corresponding CF is 26. So 140 and 26. After 25th line, 26. Okay, 6th line, 26. Then 160, 160 and 34. So 160 and 34 will be roughly here. Okay, 180 and 40, 180 and 40 exactly here. Okay, then 200 and 200 and, I'm sorry, here you will have 50, isn't it? 250. So it will be here. Okay. Remember, you have to connect all these points. Do not use scale. You have to draw a smooth curve, that is freehand diagram. Just join all these points. Okay, you get something like this. This is the curve. Okay. Now what we are going to do is we are going to calculate n by 2. What is n? Add all these things, you get n, isn't it? So n will be 50. 50 by 2 is 25.5. Now in this CF, 25.5 will, sorry, 50 by 2 is what? 25, right? I'm sorry. So 25 will be here, right? At this 25, okay, draw a line, a horizontal line, such that it meets the graph. So draw a horizontal line like this. Okay. Now if you observe the graph, the horizontal line meets the graph somewhere here. At that point, you drop that line. Okay. Now whatever corresponding value you get here, that will be your median. Okay. So say suppose it will be roughly around 130 something. Okay. I'm just roughly doing it. It's a rough diagram that I've plotted here. So, but what you have to do is calculate n by 2, whatever value you get. At that point, draw a horizontal line such that it has to meet the graph. Wherever it meets the graph, just drop the line there. And wherever it meets the x-axis, that value, whatever value you have there, that will be your median. Okay. The same thing we have to do for the more than type curve also. So let's get into the next question. In the next question, during the medical checkup of 35 students of a class, their weights were recorded as follows. Remember, they have given it as less than 38, less than 40. So this is a less than type table. Okay. The corresponding values are what? CF. It is not F. Remember that. Okay. So whenever it is given directly less than or more than, the corresponding values are CF. Okay. So draw less than type OGIF for this data and hence obtain the median weight from the graph and verify the result by using the formula. Okay. So let's do both. First, let's do the graph. Okay. Let's plot. Okay. So this will be our x-axis and this will be our y-axis. Remember, if it's a less than type, in x-axis we take upper limit, isn't it? And in y-axis we take CF. CF, it is always one box will be 10 units. So 10, 20, 30. Okay. CF is here. Then 40, 50, 60, and so on. Now look at the upper limits. It is 38, 40, 42. The difference is 2 units, right? So let's take x-axis, one box has 2 units. So after 0, you should have 2, but we are skipping some values. So let's draw the kink. So we'll start with 38, then it becomes 40, 42, up to 52, right? 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, and 52. Okay. So this is a rough graph that I'm plotting. For 38, what is the corresponding? It is 0. So it will be here itself. Let me choose a different color for plotting. So 38, 0, it will be here itself. Then 40 and 3. 40 and 3 in the sense, the upper limit is 40 and the CF is 3. So somewhere here, third line. Then 42 and 5, somewhere in the middle. Okay. Between this, you will have 10 lines, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 5 in the sense, fifth line. Okay. So 44 and 9. So 44 and 9, very close to 10, somewhere here. 46 and 14. 46 and 14, somewhere here. Okay. 48 and 28. 48 and 28, somewhere here. We'll have somewhere here. Okay. And 50 and 32. 50 and 32. And 52 and 35. So 52 and 35, somewhere exactly here. Okay. This is a rough graph that I plotted. If you plot it in graph sheet, you will definitely get a good graph. Okay. Remember, we are not supposed to use scale. We have to draw freehand diagram. Okay. So this is the graph that we have got. Now what we'll do is let's calculate n by 2. Okay. What is n? N is the total. Okay. Or you can just observe the last one. Okay. That is 35. 35 by 2 will become 17.5. Now it's 17.5, somewhere here. Okay. Draw a straight line. Okay. Such that it meets the graph. Wherever it meets the graph, drop a line. Okay. According to my calculation, the value should be between 46 and 48. Okay. So let's say 46.5. I've done this roughly. Okay. So we have got 46.5 as a median. Remember, in the calculation, that is in the verification, we have to get somewhere between 46 and 48. If we get somewhere between 46 and 48, whatever we have plotted the graph is correct. Okay. Let's do it by, the formula method. For formula method, remember, you cannot solve directly because you don't know the value of f. So let me calculate the value of f here itself. Okay. Let me calculate the value of f here itself. Remember, we had created a new table, isn't it? But I'm going to do it here itself. The first value as it is, then subtract it. 3 minus 0, 3, 5 minus 3, that will become 2, 9 minus 5, 4, 14 minus 9, 5, 28 minus 14, that will be how much? 8 plus 6, 14. Then 32 minus 28, that will be 4. Then 35 minus 32 is 3. Okay. Here it will be, if you remember, let me write the class interval here itself. So the previous value, let's take 36 itself, because each is 2 difference, right? So 36 to 38, and here it will be 38 to 40, 40 to 42, 42 to 44, 44 to 46, 44 to 46, 46 to 48, 48 to 50, and 50 to 52. Okay. I'm just trying to save time. That's it. Okay. We had to reconstruct the table. Okay. So instead of this less than, we had to construct CI, isn't it? Then frequency, then this. Okay. If you have not understood this, please watch the previous video where in finding a median, we have done such a type of problem. Now, let's calculate the median. Okay. So median is how much? What is the formula? L plus n by 2 minus CF by F into H, isn't it? So what is the value of L? For that, we have to calculate the median class. N by 2 is 17.5. That 17.5 comes here, right? So this will be your median class. Okay. So L value is 46 plus N by 2 is 17.5. CF is the previous one, that is 14 divided by F is 14 itself. NHS 48 minus 46, that will be 2. Let's calculate here. 46 plus 17.5. 17.5 minus 14, that will be 3.5 divided by 14 into 2. Very clearly, 46 as it is, 3.5 into 2 is 7, isn't it? 3.5 into 2 is 7.0 or 7 by 14. So 1, 7 ones are 7 twos are. So we have got 46 plus half is 0.5. So 46 plus 0.5 is 46.5. So I had actually roughly done it. I just assumed that is 46.5, and in the calculation also we have got 46.5. Okay. So if you plot it in the graph sheet properly, you will get the same answers. Okay. So here we have got the same answers. So let's get into the next question, which is the final question. Here we have to change the distribution to a more than type and draw its ogive. Now remember, whenever it is more than type, we have to be very, very careful. Okay. I'll tell you why. Now let's reconstruct the table here. More than type. Okay. More than type. And directly let's find CF itself. Okay. Usually we won't write F. Okay. We directly write CF. Okay. Here the cumulative frequency is calculated in a different manner. Okay. So what is the thing heading? It is production, right? Production yield in kg per hectares. Okay. So I've just written as production, and here let's take it as CF. Okay. In more than type, we must take only the lower limits. So it starts like this: more than 50. Okay. More than, or take only the upper limits: more than 55, more than 60, more than 65, more than 70, more than 75. Okay. Now the CF is calculated in a different manner. Remember, in usual way, what we do, we take the first value as it is, then we add 2 plus 8, whatever answer you get, 10, 10 plus 12, we add it like this, right? So in more than type, it is the reverse. Okay. What, see, more than in the sense, more than 50 in the sense, all this values comes, isn't it? More than 50 means all the values towards the right comes. So which means we have to add all these things. Okay, add all these things, write it here. Next, more than 55 in the sense, from 8, that is from this data, everything gets added and write it. Then more than 60 in the sense, from here to here, add everything and write it. Or you can do it in another way. What you do is, in more than type, start from the last. You keep the last value as it is, because when you say more than 75, there is nothing towards the right side. So you will write only this. Or to make it very, very simple, if it is more than type, write the last value as it is, then add 16 plus 38. You get 44, 54. Then 54 plus whatever answer after adding, you got 54. 54 plus 24, that gives you 78. 78 plus 12, that gives you 90. 90 plus 8 is 98. 98 plus 2 is 100. Okay. So here in the less than type table, if you remember, I had told you that the last value, here the last value will be your n, isn't it? Here also we have taken it as 50. But in more than type, we should not look at the last value. We have to look at the first value itself. That will be your n value. Okay. So n value is 100. Okay. Now let's try to plot a graph for this. Let's plot a graph. Okay. So this is our x-axis and y-axis. This is x-axis and y-axis. Remember here, since it is a more than type, here we take lower limit in x-axis, isn't it? And CF in y-axis as usual. And the plotting will also be the same type. 10, the units 10, 20, 30, 40. CF will always be 10 units. Okay. 50, 60, that will be the best thing. 70. Here, the x-axis depends on the lower limit. What is the upper limit? I'm sorry. It is the lower limit itself. Sorry for confusing. Okay, we had taken only the lower limits, isn't it? So what was the difference? Or just check the difference here. What is the difference between each value? 5, right? So let's take one box as 5 units. So it will become 0. Actually, we have to write 5, but we're going to start with 50. So let's draw something here. So 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, and 80. Okay, let's plot it using a different color. So when the lower limit is 50, what is the value? It is 100. Okay, so 100, let's say 80, 90, 100. 100 is somewhere here. Okay, start from the top. When for 50, you got 100. For 55, it is 98. So somewhere here. Okay, very close to 100 itself. Okay, 100 is this. 98 will be very close to 100. Then 60, and it is 90. Okay, so somewhere here. 65 and 78, so somewhere here. Roughly, I'm just plotting it. So 70 and 54, 70 and 54 somewhere here, and 75 and 16. Okay, 10 to 20, right? So it will be somewhere here. If you observe, you get a graph like this. The other one will be like an increasing graph. This is like a decreasing graph. Okay, this is how you get it. Again, n by 2. Okay, what is n? 100. 100 by 2 is 50. Exactly at 50, you draw a straight line. Wherever it meets the graph, at that point, drop a line. Okay, there you get the median. Okay, so it is the same thing as the less than type, but we have to be very careful. In more than type, we have to keep the last value as it is, and we have to add it in the reverse order. 16 plus 38. Whatever you get, that answer with 24. Again, that answer with 12. Again, that answer with 8. Then with 12. Okay, in the reverse manner. Okay. So in the less than type, it is left to right. Okay, in more than type, it is right to left. That's how you do it. That is the difference between the less than type and more than type. Otherwise, it is very easy. Remember, you can also remember this like this less than type. Okay, less than. Okay, the opposite. You're gonna take the upper limit. Okay, for less, you're gonna take upper. For more, you're gonna take lower. Okay, so if it is less than type graph, it is CF versus upper limit. If it is more than type, then it is again CF versus lower limit. Okay, so and this question is a very, very compulsory question. You'll get it for 3 marks in the exam. Very easy. All you have to do is you have to just plot a graph and calculate the value of median. And very important things here is please label the x-axis. See, as they have done here, the x-axis is lower limit. The y-axis is CF. I've just labeled it, isn't it? And the scale. What is the scale that you have taken? X-axis I have taken one box as 5 units. Y-axis I have taken one box as 10 units. These are the very, very important things. That is labeling and the scale. Okay, if you do so much, easily you can get 3 marks. So with this, we have completed the chapter. So in the next video, we'll come up with a new chapter. Thank you, students.